This lesson of proper posture and how to hold the pick is probably one of the #1 lessons that you can learn in regards to how it's going to affect your playing. Okay. Now, obviously, you can have perfect posture and be holding the pick perfectly, and there's still other things that we're going to need to learn. Okay, so obviously, we have many things to learn. It's going to be a blast. Okay, but holding the guitar and holding the pick are two things that are very, very important. Okay, and we're going to talk about some different styles. Okay, so first off, when you're holding the pick, the way you want to hold the pick, you can see that this is a triangle. Somewhat of a triangle, and there are picks of different shapes here. I've got some different ones here, but we'll just use our basic pick here. You're going to see this 99% of the time. Basically, what you want to do is you want to hold this between your first finger and your thumb, and you want to hold it to where the long part of the pick is pointing away from your hand. Okay, some people will hold the pick with their thumb and second finger. Some people will hold it with all three fingers. Some people will hold it between their thumb and their first knuckle. I would not suggest doing that. I would suggest using your first finger and your thumb or some variation thereof. Basically, because you're able to do things a lot more accurately playing like this than you would be playing like this. Okay, this is kind of like you're just gripping it and you can't really move around too much. You can't move the pick around, whereas with your fingers you can manipulate the pick. So if it's scooching on you while you're playing, you're going to have to grab it with the other hand and move it around, whereas if it's on your fingertips, you can take the other fingers and move them around to get the pick where it should be. So I highly suggest doing that. It's going to feel awkward at first, and you're going to hear me say that a lot throughout the program, because everything feels awkward when you're just doing it for the first time. The first time you rode a bike, it was awkward. The first time you ate solid food, it was awkward. The first time you ate food, it was awkward. Okay? Everything's awkward in the beginning. So just remember that. And if you feel like, hey, I'm a klutz, this pick keeps falling out of my hand, guess what? It did with Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen and every other great guitar player since the beginning of time. So you're in good company, all right? So don't worry about it. It's going to happen. And one thing that you can do, a great thing that you can do, especially in the beginning, is you can carry a pick around with you everywhere. Bring it with you everywhere. Put it in your pocket religiously. Put it in your wallet, whatever. And constantly have it in your hand. You could be at the office. You could be at school, wherever you're at. You could have it with you walking around the mall. You could have that pick in your hand, because what it's going to do is it's going to make you aware, just like holding a pencil, or if you've ever tried to brush your teeth with your other hand, or any sort of thing like that. Whatever you practice, you get good at. So it's going to feel awkward at first. If I brush my teeth with my left hand, it feels awkward. But if I did it all the time, it wouldn't, okay? Or if I walked around all day holding a toothbrush in my hand, my left hand, when I go to brush my teeth, it would feel more comfortable because I'm doing this and I'm holding on to it and I'm not really thinking about it too much. So, #1 thing you can do is, in the beginning here, is holding on to that pick a lot, okay, in whatever hand that you're doing this with. Okay, let's talk about posture. And we're going to talk about picking the strings and all that a little bit later on. Let's talk about the posture, because posture is very important. You can see that the posture that I've got right now is basically where the guitar, the rib here, is resting on my right thigh, and I'm a righty. Okay, so I'm playing the guitar with I'm strumming with my right hand, and my left hand is fretting the guitar. So this is just a very classic, probably 99% of the folks out there when they play guitar are doing this if they're not standing, okay? If they're standing, then they've got a strap, and the guitar is going to be generally in the same place, okay? Now this is what we call like just traditional or folk style. There's one other method that I'll talk about, which is the classical style, which is basically when we take the guitar and we put it on the left thigh, if we are a righty, okay? Opposite if you're a lefty. And so the idea here is that the guitar is more up at an angle, and it's a little bit awkward with this guitar because it's a jumbo body, and normally the guitar would sit up more if I had, say, like a dreadnought or a Spanish nylon string guitar, which is what classical guitar is. And so the reasoning behind this stance is that you've got this leg, you got your left leg, your right leg, and your chest holding the guitar. So I can literally take my hands off the guitar and it's not going anywhere, okay? It's more solid. And it allows us to really be able to grasp the chords easier, okay? Now, with all that being said, you have to keep your back straighter, and that can be a little bit tiring. Whereas if you hold the guitar like this, you can slouch a little bit. Not that I would suggest that. I would still suggest keeping your back more straight. Now, don't make it uncomfortable, but again, everything is new here. So you're going to play guitar, you're going to be holding the guitar, and it's going to feel weird for you. And you're going to say, gosh, my back hurts a little bit, you know? It's not like you've lifted something and pulled a muscle, but you'll be using muscles that you may not normally use while you're watching TV or eating or that sort of thing. So you're holding yourself in a different way. So the posture is really important. Whether you're doing this traditional folk style or classical is really up to you. I would bet that you would probably choose this method just because it's more comfortable over a long period of time. It's what I use 99% of the time. Now, the caveat to this is we have one leg holding and one arm holding this, but the guitar is still a little shaky. So if I don't have my hand on the neck, then it's still a little bit shaky. And what tends to be the problem for beginners is that they grab this guitar like a shovel because they don't want that neck to go down or up. They don't want the guitar to fall. So they'll hold the guitar like this and they'll wrap their thumb around the neck, and that is somewhat of a kiss of death when it comes to playing chords and melodies and what have you. We'll talk more about that later on. So even though this is probably going to be better off for you, you're probably not going to be too comfortable with that. You're probably going to sit like this, and that's okay. Just make sure that you've got the guitar snugly fit under your arm here, and then so where the guitar's not going to go anywhere, okay? Now, it's going to feel awkward at first, and because of that, here's another thing that you can do in the beginning. Really important in the beginning is to bring that guitar all over the house with you, or if you're going to school or can bring it to your work or something like that, where you can just sit with it for some time. That would be good too. How long? Depends. The more you do it, the better you get, and that's true for everything that we're going to be talking about with guitar here. So folks will say, how long should I do this? The more, the better. The less, the worse, okay? So the more you do something, the better you're going to get. Just get the timing about how long you should do something out of your head, and just think the more that you do it, the better. Okay, with that being said, sit around the house with the guitar in the beginning, okay? If you're just working through a few of these videos and you have a few nights before moving on to some of the other exercises, then just sit with the guitar. Sit with it on the couch while you're watching TV. You know, sit if you're talking on the phone, or maybe you're doing some work, you know, and you can sit with the guitar. Reason being is it's going to feel awkward at first. It is for everybody, okay? So good news, it's not just you, it's everybody. It's gonna feel awkward at first, okay? So better to get used to this. It'd be kind of like holding a spoon, you know? So if you were to hold a spoon for the first time, it's going to feel awkward. But if you gave a spoon to a kid and they just walked around with it everywhere, they're going to feel more comfortable actually using it. So when you do get to playing guitar, it's going to feel a lot better if you've actually just sat with it for some time. Okay? So the two takeaways for you in this video, in this lesson, is you want to carry a pick around with you everywhere, and you want to have it in your hand at all times. You could even take it on the side of the guitar or the side of a desk, and you can just kind of just do some basic picking, even though we haven't got to that yet. But reason being is if you have it in your hands, you're going to be feeling a lot better about it. It's just going to start feeling more natural as time goes on, because everybody I've ever experienced, every student I've ever taught, it feels awkward for them at first, and they say it. And so I'm telling you, you're going to feel that way, chances are. And have that guitar with you at all times, sitting on the couch for hours, watching TV, talking with your friends, talking with your family, whatever. As long as it's sitting in your lap like this, you're going to feel more accustomed to it, and you're going to start getting more in tune with it. And then when we get to our exercises on picking and what have you, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable. All right, let's keep going.